What's the story, Morning Glory? What's the word, Hummingbird? Thank you so much for clicking on my channel and for joining me for this review of Unexpected Season 5, Episode 4, Can Men Lactate? So, with the title being what it is, let's start off with Mason and Emerson. Mason and Emerson are going to a birthing class that's going to sort of give them an idea on how the birthing process is going to go. And I'm pretty sure that Mason got more than what he expected when it came to the dilation and opening of the cervix, when it came to nipple measuring, and when it came to whether or not men lactate. So the birthing class instructor, when she was giving or she was talking about breastfeeding and measuring the nipple, and I didn't understand why we were measuring nipples. She probably explained it, but I missed it. But I didn't understand why we have to measure nipples, but anyways, that's what she was talking about. And at that point, Mason asked if men lactate because he said that Emerson told him that if the mother is not around and there is no source of food and the man has the child, this will cause him to lactate. And I was surprised that the birthing class instructor didn't give him a clear answer. She actually said that I think she said she wasn't an expert in that field. I could be wrong, but I think she said something to the effect of she wasn't an expert in that field, even though she's teaching a birthing class and talking about breastfeeding and lactation. And she said that she didn't know what the answer was to that. And I was really surprised about that, that she didn't know. And I didn't even consider Googling it, but I don't know if they do or if they don't. I've never heard of this before. I'm not understanding if it's like nature is kicking in to help nourish the child, so a man will lactate if he's the only source of food available and there's nothing else available to feed the child. I have no idea, so I'm gonna have to Google it after this. But I was just surprised. That more surprised than I was about him asking was my shock when the instructor didn't have an answer for that. I thought that was strange. Moving on from Mason and Emerson, Tierra and D. This Tierra, Tyra, Taylor group, and it's not even so much Tierra and it's not even so much Tyra. It's really Taylor that I'm kind of worried about. But let's start off with Tierra and D. So Tierra and D, Tierra was talking about that, it's really stressful for her to live in Maryland alone when her whole family is in Kentucky because D will work 48-hour shifts, which explains why she had to take her daughter with her to Kentucky because D works very long hours. So D works 48-hour shifts and she says that it's basically just her and her child, and she doesn't know anybody in Maryland. And so obviously we knew that that was the reason why she liked going back and forth for her doctor's appointments between Maryland and Kentucky, and that maybe she really didn't lose her social security card, or if she did actually lose her social security card, she really wasn't too concerned about getting another one because it gave her an excuse to travel back and forth, which is totally understandable that she wants to be with her family. But it's just like, it's a lot. It's going through a whole lot for a doctor's appointment. So Tiara's at her doctor's appointment and she's talking to her doctor about having really painful contractions. And the doctor basically reassured her that, depending on the positioning of the baby, you may feel the contractions more in your back. So just try to do some stretches and that should alleviate some of the pain. The doctor also said that she was a little bit concerned with her iron levels. Tiara was given iron supplements, which she says she stopped taking because it made her really ill. So she doesn't know the levels of her iron, but her doctor said that if the iron level is really low, she's going to have to get back on her iron supplements. And the doctor said that, well, not the doctor, I'm pretty sure the doctor told Tyra, I mean, not Tyra, Tierra, and Tierra's not telling us that if she has low iron, it could cause issues with the labor and delivery. For example, she can go into early labor and she can actually bleed out during labor. So if that was something that I was facing, I would definitely be taking my iron supplements because that does not sound like fun. So now we meet cousin Taylor, who we've seen on and off during during this show. We've seen her on and off. We're familiar with who she is. She is the cousin of Tierra and Tyra, and she's roughly around the same age. And the first season that Tierra and Tyra were on the show, we knew that, we knew of cousin Taylor because she was also pregnant with her first child at the same exact time that Tierra and Tyra were pregnant with theirs. And then there was this rumor going around that the three of them had started this pregnancy pact because I guess people couldn't believe that three people within the same family could be pregnant at around the same time. But they denied it through and through that it was not a pregnancy pact. In fact, they got pregnant at different times and it was not planned. So Taylor is pregnant with her second child. I think she's about the same age as Tyra. And Tyra, I think, is, how old is she? Is she 20 or no, she's not 20 yet. Is she? I'm not sure. She must be 20, 19, 20, somewhere around there. So she's pregnant with her second child, and the father of her children, I'm assuming Noah is the father of her first child as well. The father of her children is Noah, and he's also distantly related to Tyra and Tierra. Taylor is the first cousin of Tyler and Tierra, I think from their mother's side, and Noah is a fourth cousin to Tyler and Tierra on their father's side. So even though they're both related to Tyra and Tierra, they're not related to each other. And Taylor wanted to make that perfectly clear. So she says that her and Noah started off as friends with benefits until she got pregnant. And then when Taylor found out that she was pregnant the first time, she was really on and off with Noah. So I'm just wondering if there was ever a DNA test done for Noah and Taylor's first child. Because if you're on and off with Noah, does that mean that I mean, and I'm not trying to pry into this child's, business like that, but like seriously, if I was Noah's parent, I would have wanted a DNA test. So, because she was on and off with Noah, they were just friends with benefits, and then she ended up pregnant. Was she on and off with other people as well? Because at least with Tyra, she seemed to be pretty exclusive with Alex, and Tierra seems to be very exclusive with Dee, but who knows what was going on between Taylor and Noah. So Noah said that they were taking precautions when Taylor got pregnant, but they were not using any birth control or any other type of contraception. So how are you taking precautions, Noah, if you weren't using any type of birth control or devices to prevent pregnancy? Like, I don't understand the language that these people are speaking. You say you were taking precautions, but you weren't using anything. How are you taking precautions? Because if you got pregnant while you were on birth control, or if you got pregnant while you were using some type of contraceptive, okay, I get it. But don't come up here and say we were taking precautions and nothing was being used. And I don't even want to get into the whole rhythm method if that's what they were doing, because that's insane. So Taylor said that, she really trusted him, but she ended up pregnant anyway. Taylor, I'm worried about you. Girl, I am really worried about you. I'm very concerned about you, Taylor, because out of these three girls, Taylor's the one that seems the most flimsy. And there's something about her that's kind of like simple, I just don't understand. Like, it doesn't seem like she's really taking anything too seriously. To her, it could be like whatever about having children. I don't know exactly what she plans to do with her life, even though I may have had an issue with Tyra moving so far away from her daughter to go to school. At least she was trying to better herself and she was trying to do something with her life. And then with Tierra, even though college may not be in her near future, it seems like she has a pretty stable relationship with Dee. They seem to be pretty solid. So here comes Taylor with her on again, off again relationship with Noah, and I'm just very confused. So Taylor says, then she talks about Alex. She says that she talks about Alex, Tyra's boyfriend. She says that when Alex is not in the picture, then her and Tyra are pretty close because Tierra is off in Maryland. So when Alex is not in the picture, her and Tyra are spending a lot of time together. Tyra is coming over all the time with her daughter Aaliyah to have play dates with Taylor's daughter. So they spend quite a bit of time together. But then as soon as Alex is back in the picture again, Tyra drops her like a bad habit. All of a sudden, she doesn't come around anymore. She doesn't know who she is. And, she spends all of her time with Alex. So everyone talks about how toxic Tyra's relationship with Alex is. And yeah, it is toxic. It's toxic in the sense that Alex is with a whole nother girl, and Tyra thinks there's like nothing wrong with that. And then she feels like she has some type of claim over Alex simply because she has a child with Alex, when nothing can be further from the truth. And also, her sister and her cousin they also seem to put a lot of blame on Alex for breaking up their relationship because they feel like Alex owes some type of loyalty to Tyra when Tyra is the one that took off and went to college. And what do you expect an 18, 19-year-old boy to do when his girlfriend is when his girlfriend is gone for the majority of the time? So how can you expect loyalty, fidelity, faithfulness? I don't know how many other synonyms I can use for an 18-year-old kid who's probably very stressed out with being basically like a single dad while his girlfriend is out doing whatever at school. Like I just don't get it, because they talk about how Alex really betrayed Tyra and Alex is wrong for doing what he did to Tyra, but Tyra left. And it seemed like she really didn't put a lot of work into the relationship when she left. And just because they have a child together does not mean that Tyra holds some type of claim to him. Like, because you're his first baby mama, then he belongs to you and nobody else. Like, I'm not understanding. But then again, I'm not 16, 17 years old either. Moving on to Jenna and Aiden. Now, out of all the girls on this show this season, there's a couple that I'm kind of impressed with like their level of maturity and intelligence. Jenna is definitely one of them. So, but I kind of feel sorry for her because she's stuck with Aiden. Now, Aiden, he has some sensitivity issues. I don't think he's that bad, but I do see some sensitivity issues. Like, he's not very sensitive with what other people are going through. In his mind, it's like, hey, if I don't think it's a big deal, you shouldn't think it's a big deal. If I can suck it up, you can suck it up. And so he doesn't really know how to put himself in other people's shoes. So it is time for Lucas's baptism. In Jenna's confessional, she says that her dad is very petty. Her mom is emotionally crazy, and she wouldn't hang out with these two people if they weren't her parents. Her mom is Heather. I forgot what her dad's name is. And Jenna holds a lot of resentment towards her parents because they're very toxic people. They feel like they have the right to be toxic. That's the thing that I find so amusing about her mom and dad. They're extremely toxic to each other. Their toxicity spills over into Jenna's life, and it's messing up Jenna. Jenna's trying to stay extremely sane in this chaotic life that her parents have built for her. And her parents they don't understand why she's so bothered by their dysfunctionality. The father doesn't understand why Jenna doesn't hate her mom, and the mom doesn't understand why Jenna doesn't hate her own dad as much as the mother hates him. Like, they don't understand why Jenna would have any type of love and affection and sympathy and emotional ties with either one of them. So it's almost like they are trying to pull pull Jenna in different directions. Like, they just want to use her as a member of their hate army against the other parent. And with all of this going on, plus being a teen mom, plus dealing with an emotional partner or an insensitive partner, I don't understand how Jenna just hasn't run away from home and we haven't seen her face on a milk carton, because how she stays sane in all of this craziness is just beyond me. And then on top of that, not only has she like stayed sane, but she's like a damn good mother to her son. It's just unbelievable to me. She gets the gold star of unexpected. Okay, if I could give out a gold star to any of these young mothers, it would definitely be Jenna because she has a lot on her plate. So it's the time of Luca's baptism. As soon as her dad enters the church, he starts with the messiness. He says something, and I don't know if he thinks he's a stand up comic because he knows that he's mic'd, but he knows that other people probably can't hear him because, he's talking low, but definitely we're going to be able to hear him on the show. So I don't know if he thinks he's a stand up comic and he's there for our entertainment pleasure, but he says that he's surprised that the church didn't burn down as soon as Heather walked in, his ex wife. Why would you say that at your grandson's baptism? I mean, you cannot put your hate to the side for the 1 hour, hour and a half that this little event is going to take. You can't be positive and put on your big boy pants and act civil to the mother of your child, the grandmother of your grandson. You can't do that for just an hour if it was even that long. So then there's some issues with the seating. I don't understand. I didn't get it because the church was empty as hell. There was plenty of space to go around in the first few pews. So I didn't understand why. I wasn't really paying attention, but I don't know if he was upset because he thinks that Jenna's mom had taken up all the space at the front of the pew or right behind Jenna and Aiden, or I don't know if it was. I didn't understand. I was like, why don't you just go up to wherever the hell you want to sit and tell them, excuse me, or come in from the other direction and then sit down and be quiet. Kathy, his wife, Jenna's stepmother, she says that she thinks it really bothered Heather, Jenna's mother, that that Jenna was living with him and that, he would spend a lot of time with Luca because Jenna was living with them at the time. And so the stepmother's like, I think it really bothered her that she would have been spending all this time with Luca. So they believe that Heather brainwashed or influenced Jenna in some way for moving away from her father's house so that he wouldn't have like some type of an advantage of being a grandparent and spending all this time with the baby. This is like bizarre. This is so bizarre to me that people think this way. I didn't think it was right for the stepmother to say that to her husband because you want peace and you want togetherness because there's a brand new baby in this family, and you adding fuel to the fire with your husband by saying, yeah, your ex was just really jealous that you were going to be able to spend all this time with Luca and that's why she wanted Jenna to move out. That's not helping anything. That's increasing his resentment towards his ex-wife. And that's not good for Luca. If you care about Jenna and if you care about Luca, y'all will put all this craziness, foolishness aside and try to get along as much as you can. Nobody is expecting y'all to hold hands and jump rope together and skip down the street hand in hand. No one is expecting that. But you can at least be civil and not say hurtful things about Jenna's other parent in her presence. So there was a confessional with Jenna sitting next to her mom. And in the confessional, Jenna says that even if her and Aiden don't make it, her and Aiden will never be as bad as her parents are. And the mother rolled her eyes. Why? Instead of being encouraging, like to help them stay together, or if they should separate, try to help them not turn out like you and your ex, you rolled your eyes. Like for her to say that to you, like for Jenna to say, I will not be as bad as my parents. She thought that was just like stupid for her. Like she rolled her eyes like that was the most stupidest thing Jenna could say. She should have been proud that Jenna would try to avoid being as toxic as her parents are. And then what also kills me about her parents is that they're just waiting for Jenna and Aiden to turn into them because they think that the way they are as divorced parents is somehow normal and justifiable. Like they're kind of like, well, you just wait, Jenna. You just wait, Jenna. You keep on talking about how you're not going to end up like us. Well, you just wait and see. Instead of like, you know what, Jenna, I'm so glad that you have that mindset that you're not going to be as, toxic as we are to each other. These people are just constantly, and then the fact that the thing that really bothers me also, I can't believe I'm talking as much as I am about Jenna, but another thing that really bothers me is the fact that her dad, the way he's just so careless with the things that he says about her mom. Honey, we know you don't like your ex wife. We know that you want to see her run over by a bus. We know that you hate this woman with every fiber in your being. We get that. You don't have to remind us every single chance you're on camera, especially when you're around your own child. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to talk, you don't have to be fake, because I know a lot of people hate being fake. You don't have to be fake and and act like you like the woman, but you sure as hell don't have to say the horrible evil things that you say about your daughter's mom, because that makes your daughter feel bad, and then you wonder why she left. And I do see that her mom has major issues, and I do see that her mom is also toxic for Jenna. I definitely do see that. But I just don't see it as much as I see it in her dad, because her dad always has to say something. Jenna's mom is more like an emotional manipulator. She tries to manipulate Jenna through her emotions, whereas her dad is just like verbally abusive towards Jenna's mom, the things that he says about Jenna's mom. And it makes me wonder, do you still have feelings for this woman? Because you spend a lot of energy hating her. You spend a lot of energy trying to destroy her or whatever you're doing. Deep down inside, are you like secretly still in love with your wife and hoping that you get her back one day? Like, if you really can't stand her and you really don't care for her, you wouldn't even want to mention her name or talk about her or shine any light towards that woman. Yeah, that's all I have to say about that. And I know that was a lot. Moving on to Lawrence and Lily. This is a whole other level of dysfunctionality. So Lawrence and Lily. Lily did all the packing because Lawrence is going to do all the moving. Lawrence has got a new job and he works, like he has a really long commute. So he's too tired to do anything when he comes home. So Lily's going to take care of all the packing, and he's, I guess, going to be the one to pack and unpack the truck. Lily says in her confessional that Lawrence is really nervous about them moving out because he's going to have this responsibility 100% on his shoulder. I don't even think it's going to be 100%. The way that Lily's parents are, I know that they're going to still be there to help out. But he is, I guess, really nervous about the fact that they're not going to have anyone around to assist them, and it's just going to be them on their own with these two kids. So Lily says that there's zero chance that Lawrence will not maintain his temper on moving day, because Lawrence has a really bad temper, a really short temper. He needs anger management classes, like he really does. He pops off like at the drop of a dime. And it's not, I can tell that these people argue a lot in front of their children. It's pretty obvious because he doesn't seem like someone who can control himself. And Lily feels like, she has to, stand her ground and fight back with him. So, I don't think he's going to be able to maintain his temper either. So Lily tells us that Lawrence is a yeller. It's not so much what he says that bothers her, but how he says it. And he usually says everything in a really loud voice when he gets agitated. So she says that, you know what, if there's something that you don't like or something that I did wrong, you can point it out in a normal way. You don't have to start yelling and cussing at me. And then she goes, and I'm not going to take crap from you. When you talk like that to me, I'm not going to take crap from you. So that tells me right then and there that when he's on 10, then she's on 10, and they're yelling and screaming at each other. He thinks that there's nothing wrong with how he's communicating because he feels like he has to shout and cuss to get his point across. And she thinks that she's a pushover if she doesn't give him the same energy that he gives her. So complete dysfunctionality there. There's some type of huge misunderstanding with what day they were supposed to pack the stuff up into the truck. So Lily and her mom swear up and down that they had already told Lawrence that the stuff was supposed to be disassembled and packed up. The furniture, the crib, all that stuff was supposed to be disassembled and packed up on one particular day. He thought it was going to be the day after or the day of the move, and they had already told him we're supposed to do all of this the day before the move. So I think it's the day before the move. He has no help, I'm thinking, because he thought it was supposed to be the day of the move. So Lily is yelling at him. Her mom is yelling at him. He's yelling back at everybody else. It's just a big mess. And it doesn't have to be that way. Everybody makes mistakes. It's easy to misunderstand or miscommunicate or forget. The thing is, we have a problem. Let's just try to figure out a way to solve it. But they don't want to do that. Everybody wants to yell and scream, yell and scream. And so he said he was going to be able to pick up, he was going to be able to do everything on his own without any help, which is fine. He probably could do it on his own. But you don't want to get injured doing it. If he didn't need the help, they never would have contacted his friends to come help him if he could really do it all by himself. Be very careful, Lawrence, because it's very easy to injure your back when you're trying to pick up beds and dressers and cribs and all of that. Lily says that she has absolutely no hope that everything is going to go as expected on the day of the move. That's going to be interesting. Hopefully, they're going to be able to do it without killing each other. Moving on to Kylan and Jason. Jason's cousin Lizzie comes over, and she also just recently had a little boy, so she came to give a bunch of her hand-me-downs to Kylan. And Lizzie gets up and she says, "Wait right here because I have something for y'all." Jason says, "Is it just for her or is it for me also?" Like he feels left out or something. He has this thing about feeling left out. And coming to find out, Jason is an only child. So I can kind of see now why he is the way he is. I'm not trying to offend people who are only children because I myself am an only child as well. But I kind of understand his spoiled behavior. There's a good chance that his parents probably did really, really spoil him. But what I don't understand is this need to feel like he's included, because usually as an only child, you get way too much attention from your parents. You never feel left out. As you know, like some people might feel if they have several siblings, some children might feel like, well, my parents gave more attention to the others than they ever did to me. As an only child, your parents are always laser focused on you. So he has an issue with the hospital not paying him any attention as a teen dad. He has an issue with his cousin not giving him any gifts or anything when she came over. Like, what is this thing about needing to feel included, feeling like you're being left out, feeling like you're not being heard? Because as an only child, your parents, like I said, they are laser focused on you and your needs and your wants. And I don't understand why he's got this thing about people not paying any attention to him. I don't know where he was. He was dismissed at some point in his life, and it really affected him deeply. And he always needs to make sure that he's heard, that people understand that he's there. Also, the fact that he always has to go with Kylan to her parents' house, like he has to be there. Like he's so afraid of her. Anyways, let me stay focused on this. So cousin Lizzie says, "Oh, I have something for y'all." And he's like, "Oh, is it for me too or just for her?" And she's like, "Oh, it's for you too, silly." So she comes back with one of those, I think they called it a real care baby doll, where this is the baby doll that they give out or in high school for teenagers to know what it's really like to have a baby, to discourage them from becoming teen parents. Yeah, it's a little bit too late for this couple, but here we are. So this whole thing is to kind of prepare them on what it's going to be like to have a baby. I don't care how many times that doll cries, nothing is going to prepare you. That doll is not going to prepare anyone who's actually expecting a real baby. Now, for people who are not pregnant, I can understand, you get frustrated with the doll needing so much attention. But if you're going to be having a baby anyway, I don't think that doll is going to have much of an effect on anything. So Kylan, she's taking advantage of this doll. She's doing what she's supposed to be doing. She wants to experience what it's like. And Jason is like, I don't feel for this doll the way that I would feel for my own child. So this is a waste of my time. He's like, just because a baby cries all the time doesn't mean that it's going to be anything like in real life when a real baby is crying. So he's over it. He doesn't see it for this doll at all whatsoever. And there's a confessional where the I don't even remember how the question came up. The father, yes. So it's Jason. It's Jason and his parents in the confessional, and the father says, because there was a scene where they had to change the diaper of the doll or something like that, and I think it was Lily. I mean, not Lily. It was Kylan that was changing. Something was going on with the damn doll, and I think it was Jason's mom that said, "Jason, you need to help her change the doll's diaper or change the doll's clothes." And he says, "No, you do it." And he did it out of anger. Okay, so I'm seeing some temper issues here. I'm seeing some anger management issues here. So in the confessional, the father tells him that, this is going to be your child, your baby, and your responsibility. We're just the grandparents. We're not here to take care of your child. And the producers ask, what do you think Jason still has to figure out? And the father says he's going to have to figure out love, compassion, and he has to have motivation to be a dad. He says being a parent is more than just changing diapers and feeding. It is about all the other things, all the other things that are emotionally necessary to raise a child, to raise a human being. So he's going to have to learn a lot about that. And so I thought that was really good advice. Because whenever it comes to teen parents, the things that people always tell them, oh, you're going to have to be getting up in the middle of the night to change diapers and feed the baby. You're not going to have a social life anymore, and your baby's going to take up all of your time. But no one really tells them that you also have to be patient. You also have to be motivated. You also have to learn how to instill values in your child. You have to, there's a lot of emotional, mental, and psychological things that go into raising a child that's just beyond the physical part of it, the changing of the diapers, the feeding of the bottles. So I like that point that his father made. But Jason's over this damn doll, and he says he's going to do better with his actual child and not this piece of plastic where he can just easily remove the batteries to make it shut up. Then there was a scene, I almost forgot this part. Then there was a scene, I think they were in the confessional, and the doll was with them, and the doll started crying. And so he told her, put the doll in the car seat and start rocking the car seat, which she did, and that quieted the doll. And then he goes, you see, I'm an expert at this. And then the doll started crying again. So she picked up the doll and she was trying to soothe it. And Jason said something like, just because you can handle the doll doesn't mean that you're going to be a good parent. And for some reason, this made Kylan cry. And I didn't understand what she meant by that. I felt like I understand, I'm not a big Jason fan, but I felt like I understood where he was coming from. He was trying to say, just because you can take care of a doll, a piece of plastic, that doesn't mean that you're fully prepared to take care of a real baby. And it's not a good measure of how good of a parent that you're going to be. And then she started crying, unless I missed something that he said that was even more insensitive. But if that's all he told her, I didn't understand why she was crying, because I thought he was spitting facts. As much as I kind of disliked the kid, I thought he was spitting facts when he said that. Just because he can care for a doll and make it be quiet by rocking it a few times, it is nothing compared to having a real baby. Thank you so much for joining me for this review. If you made it this far, I really do appreciate it. Please don't forget to rate the video and most definitely subscribe, and I would definitely talk to you later. Bye.